Let's do it anyway.
Let's just do it. Right, we're live apparently. So hello, welcome everybody. Hopefully everyone's good. Hope everyone's having less technological issues and just regular bedroom tidying issues. But anyway, we're here now. So yeah, hope everyone's well. How are you doing, Hallie? You all right?
I'm good. I'm good.
Not stressed?
How are you? No. What's that?
Yeah, I'm all right though.
Yeah.
I'm good. How are you?
Hey, at least I know that my volume's good.
No, your volume's good. That's funny. So we've got 21 people on.
Oh, cool. So yeah, we were gonna. This is like a first live stream for a really long time, right?
Yeah.
And we're gonna do it a little bit different to normal, because normally we go over the old episodes, but we got some urban legends this time to talk about.
Yes.
Sent in from listeners, which is cool. And I sort of asked people to send in stuff. You never know if people are gonna, right? But we got a lot, so that was good. You always think it's always a little bit sort of hit and miss. Like you ask people to send it in, and you just think, well, are they really going to bother? But everyone came up trumps, so that's really cool. We got loads.
They bothered. They bothered, which was amazing. Yeah, in a good way.
And it's exactly what I was after as well, because I was thinking it's nice to get stuff from all over, and they really are from all over. We got stuff from Australia, stuff from like pretty much all over America, right? And there was some British stuff in there, and obviously our own personal stuff as well. But we were gonna start off talking about last week's episode real quick, right? Because that kind of fits with the theme a little bit. Last week's episode was, what was it? The haunted house, but I can't. Oh, Lindley Street.
Lindley Street haunting.
Yeah, what did you think of it? Were you wrapped in? Do you think Lindley Street, did it get you?
Are you asking me if I think it was haunted?
Yeah, maybe.
Why do you do that to me? You know what? I have to say, I think that the point you made at the very end, where if I took an overall picture, did I think it was haunted? No. But if even 1% of it was real, that was fucking amazing.
Yeah, right. There's like so much stuff, and it's all. There's so much of it is bollocks, right? I mean, it's so clearly bollocks.
Yeah, totally.
But there's hauntings like that. That like Enfield is another one that always gets me. Like so much of Enfield is absolute. Like it's, absolutely for sure guaranteed. Like it's been sort of like totally knocked back 100 times. It's clearly like hoax and everything. There's so much of it that's hoaxed. But there are things in that still, and this one reminded me very similar of it, where there are things in it that even if it was hoaxed, like it doesn't answer all the questions. There's still questions. I mean, the Warrens, I think we all can gather what I thought of the Warrens from that episode. But other stuff outside of the Warrens. But yeah. What do you think of the Warrens? Because the Warrens, it's quite well known that they're basically a bunch of fraudsters, right?
I think so.
I wasn't sure if I was being a bit off colour by sort of slamming them so hard. I didn't know if it might catch people unawares a little bit. But can we talk politics on here? Empress Dante, aka Alpha Rising Spirit. Try and avoid it if we can. But it depends. I mean, sometimes you have to talk politics, but
I don't think there's really room for it right now. Not this time.
Yeah, I mean, we try our best not to. I mean, Dark Histories is mainly about running away from the real life.
Pretty much.
So, but yeah, sometimes you have to, but we try our best not to. But yeah, the Warrens. I mean, there's politics for you. Warrens, shady or not?
Oh, shady. They're
so shady, aren't they?
There's just so much shade that can be thrown. It's just, God.
So Sharona picked up on the surprisingly not from being married to Ed. I'm glad, because I slipped that in, and I thought, I wonder how many people are actually going to hear that, and how many people are going to just sort of have zoned out by that point and just completely miss it.
I've created a T-shirt, just so you know.
Oh, nice. I did like that. But the thing is, I didn't mean to do it, right? So as I was writing the thing, I kept. I mean, if you've read my notes, you'll see in there as well. Like every time I write the Warrens, I like wanker or something like that next to it, and the same thing happened. And I was writing about them, and I was like, oh yeah, and Lorraine felt nauseous. Yeah, 'cause she was married to Ed, probably, and I thought
an overwhelming feeling of nausea came over her. Surprisingly, it wasn't from being married to Ed. Yeah.
Yeah, and I just thought, I'm just gonna just leave that in. I'm not gonna edit that out because she just deserves to stay there. But yeah, no, I can't stick the Warrens. I think they're pretty like well known for being fraudsters. But outside of the stuff for the Warrens, I thought there was some pretty interesting stuff. Like that girl couldn't have hoaxed it all herself, right?
I just, yeah, Emily.
Yeah, good night, Empress. Have fun.
Sorry. Yeah, sorry about that, guys. It just, yeah, there's never been anything good about the Warrens that I can think of.
No, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that's like alleged, right? So, funnily enough, someone sent me an email after the episode, and they said, "What have you got against the Warrens?" And I was like, normally, honestly, I would ignore that sort of email because I get like probably somewhere in the region like 50 to 100 emails a week, and sometimes you just think that this. I want to email you back, but I just don't have the time. But I was sitting in bed and it was like 4 a.m, and I checked my emails and it was there, and I thought, right, okay, I'll genuinely email back. And I was like, right, a lot of this is alleged, but where do you want to start? Like the fact that he was supposedly dating a 15-year-old girl, the fact that he later got her pregnant and then supposedly like forced her into getting an abortion so it wouldn't damage his reputation, the fact that there's been proved that he dressed his wife up in a sheet and took photos of her and said it was a ghost. I mean, where do you want to start? So,
right, which one? Take your pick. Yeah,
but yeah, no, I didn't have a lot of time for them. But I was glad that the actual story, they were kind of a side note in the story. But yeah, to get to the actual story anyway, and not bang on about the Warrens because we don't like them, so that's enough of that.
They're a piece of work anyway, but yeah.
Yeah, what did you think about this? Do you think that girl could have hoaxed everything, and do you think it was maybe like some sort of like mass delusion, or like a kind of where everyone got themselves a bit overexcited?
Okay, but here's my thing. Like, unless the refrigerator was actually made out of the cardboard box that the refrigerator came in, I'm about 4'10" on a good day and about 95 pounds soaking wet. And it's freaking hard to move a refrigerator. I've had to do it several times.
I did it this week, and you know what I'm like?
Hard.
I mean, it was hard, yeah.
It's hard. So the fact that they said she was sitting there and just with her foot casually moved the refrigerator, it doesn't work that way.
No, it absolutely definitely doesn't. I had to get my whole weight behind. I mean, I say my whole weight, but like my whole skin and bone weight behind my new fridge, and I was like pushing it down my hallway like inch at a time. You definitely don't just touch it with your foot and like give it a nudge and it spins around. Definitely not.
Yeah, and it's like Sharona said too, with all of those people around, like all of the police and everything and the neighbors and stuff, they weren't in on it. I mean, yeah. I don't know.
I always find it interesting, and like with the Enfield and this one, like so many witnesses, and it's not about the quality of the witnesses or anything. It's just the quantity, like the sheer amount of people there, and the amount of them that said like absolutely, definitely not. Like that it wasn't all her. Like after the fact, when they come out and said it was a hoax, I thought that was interesting, and I also thought it was interesting that they really didn't want to publicize it. So like there are elements of this one that reminded me of the Amityville, but in the direct kind of opposition to Amityville. Whereas Amityville, they absolutely were like, right, let's sell our house, write a book, make a film, ding, ding, ding. Like these guys were like, hush it up. They got a lawyer to try and shut everything down. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I don't know. I just think there was so
So
much.
Kimberly said, "Do they have anything to gain for perpetuating the story?" No, I don't.
No.
I mean, it sounded to me that he genuinely didn't want anything to do with it. Like, I mean, they sort of basically got a lawyer on the Warrens to get them to stop bringing up their name and their address in their
Basically.
lectures. So, like, they didn't want to perpetuate the story.
Yeah,
It was giving him like loads of grief at work and stuff, apparently.
Yeah, no, and Courtney said, you know, it seemed like the family didn't want the publicity. They didn't try to do anything with it afterwards. Like, they didn't try to gain anything from it. They weren't trying to write a book or make a movie, or, you know, there was nothing that they gained after the fact in order to make any sort of monetary gain or any sort of fame for themselves. There was nothing that they were trying to get from it.
Yeah.
Which is the other thing. It's like, why go through all that trouble if, you know, if you're not doing it for some reason?
Yeah. Because even the second paranormal investigator who came in, like, after it had been called a hoax and everything, you know, like, the part of the deal was, you're going to keep this quiet, you know, it's all going to be on the hush hush, and it's not going to be, you know, nothing public about this. If you can do that, then you can come here and do an investigation, but otherwise, no, which I thought was interesting. And I thought, you know, I read his, like, the investigators, conclusions and stuff, and I thought that was interesting that he addressed, like, all the actual issues in the house, like the fact that, you know, the girl probably was bored, she was enjoying the attention, there was loads of tension between the mother and the girl, and, you know, there was all this stuff that I thought, you know, it was good that he addressed it and he didn't try and just, like, cover it up. You're all right? Is your dog going mental?
No, I'm laughing because before we went live, I'm at my daughter's, so that's who's, like, running around back here. We were trying to figure out, because she still wanted to, like, watch the stream but be able to hear it. Well, obviously she can't hear it because it's coming through my headphones. So I'm like, well, my phone's working. You could use my phone because hers was dead, right? And so she just tapped me on the shoulder. She's like, yeah, laptop. I've got a laptop I can use. It's like, good God.
Smart, I swear.
Sometimes it's like, it just makes it, we make it so much harder than it has to be.
Technology, mate. Did the house ever go up for sale? It did. They did try to put it up for sale, but they put it up for sale, like, at market value, £31,000, £31,500, and it never sold. But they tried to put it up for sale because they wanted to get out of the area. They wanted to, like, get a fresh start because they were afraid that their daughter was going to get, like, bullied at school, and the main guy was getting kind of, I wouldn't say bullied because they're adults, but then you still get that, don't you? Like, workplace bullying. He was basically getting, like, he was getting a lot of stick at work, apparently, for making up this hoax, for attention and all stuff like that. So yeah, they put it up for sale because they wanted to leave, but they never sold. So yeah, the house is still there as well, except from it's white now, not yellow. Someone's had the good decency to paint it. But yeah,
it's I just thought of a Hunt a Killer. Don't know. Hunt a Killer. I don't know if you guys have that over there. Do you have that?
What's that?
It's like a not a game. Would you guys call it a game?
This is definitely a cultural thing.
Well, it probably is, but it's like a monthly subscription box that you can get, and basically it's like you get clues, and it kind of makes you, like, be involved in an investigation, and you're trying to, like, solve a murder or
like kind of like that when you go out for and have those, like,
you know, like the
mystery
murder dinners
nights.
that, like, Sarah and Mr. Sarah went to. But they send it to you in a box, like, monthly. You get, like, bits and pieces and stuff.
Oh, so that's fun.
That's what it's called. Yeah, it's kind of cool. But I've never actually played it. But yeah, there's a lot of people that kind of, like, play it as groups. Well, not that they can get together and do it, you know, like in the olden days when people would get together in groups, but a lot of people do play it, like, with family and stuff in order to try to solve it.
Hunt a Killer? Like, Hunt a Killer?
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Maybe
Yeah.
I should like hook them up and see if they want to advertise on Dark Histories.
They advertise on a lot of podcasts. So.
All right. I'm surprised I've
Yeah.
never heard of them then.
Oh wow! Did you see what Courtney said? She said sometimes people host their own on Reddit. Some are country or worldwide scavenger hunts. That would be so cool.
Oh, that's cool.
That would be amazing.
Yeah, definitely.
We should do that.
Yeah.
Okay, Ben, where'd you hide the knife?
Yeah.
He's like under the laundry on my bed.
Where everything else is this evening.
Oh my gosh. Oh, that's too much. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think the Warrens invited themselves in like they do with it, almost every other case that they were involved in. And I don't know. I really think honestly, like if the family had any interest in making money off of it, they wouldn't have kicked the Warrens out because that's kind of what they specialize in.
The Warrens are basically like your marketing, like.
That's what I'm saying.
Do you know, like?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think that if they were really in it for something, they wouldn't have kicked them out.
Yeah. I mean, I know I played it up a little bit, but that was true that like pretty much the very first thing he did when he got there was like get on the phone and start calling up the press all over the nation.
Yeah.
I mean, I know I sort of say I was on their back a little bit, but that was true. You know, like
no, but it's
one of the very first things he did.
Yeah, and I mean, they've done that to so many people, and you know, there are families that have been like, we told them flat out, we don't want you here. You need to leave. We didn't invite you. We don't know how you heard of it, but you gotta go.
I'm glad they got booted out of this case. But I mean, they get booted out of a lot of cases, didn't they?
Yeah, they did.
But
they really did. Oh, somebody remind me what year this took place in, Benjamin. Do you remember?
1957. No, sorry, that's the one I'm doing this week. 1973, this one was.
What?
1973, 74.
Boy, you had me confused for a second. I'm like, man, maybe I did.
Or was it 74, 75? It was 74, 75.
I thought it was like early 70s, but I was like, maybe I didn't listen.
I think it was 73, 74.
I wanted to say
and it drifted into... But no, the one I'm doing this week is in the late 50s. I've been reading for that for the last 3 days.
Get me all confused, and
it came out the same year as The Exorcist, so...
Full disclosure, I've actually never seen The Exorcist. I don't know why. Maybe it just seems like it would be too fake. I don't know.
No, it's brilliant.
I've heard a lot of people say it was really good.
It holds up. I watched it last week. No surprise.
Nice. Yeah, your show description said mid-70s. Nice. Nice out, Benjamin.
Yeah, it was. No, The Exorcist is good. I think it still holds up. Still.
I'm getting shade now because I haven't seen it. Oh, see, okay.
Mr. Book hasn't seen it either.
Mr. Book, if you're the one that sent a legend to the email, we didn't get it until Friday, and by then we had already put everything together, so I wasn't able to add that in.
Wow, like there's a lot of people. Sorry, carry on.
No, you're fine. I know.
There's a lot of people in chat that haven't seen The Exorcist.
I know, and I'm feeling much better about it now.
It's great. I love 70s horrors. Like Taco Bell says he watched it as a child with The Omen, don't remember anything about them. I understand that, to be honest, because like the 70s horrors were so slow and ploddy. But I love that about them. I love the fact they're really slow and like kind of like this. Emily Rose, yeah, that's all right.
Oh God, okay. So like,
you worked right by the Exorcist steps. That does count. Just don't throw yourself down them.
Yeah, but that is pretty cool. I have seen The Omen, all of The Omens.
Yeah, I like The Omen as well. Yeah.
I like the original Omen.
Yeah.
Like the original one. It was
Wait, have they
kinda
remade
cool.
it?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. 99%.
I think it was scaring the shit out of me. What, The Exorcist? Do you know what? It's
I love
actually
it.
all right, but I think it depends. Like, if you're, I think largely it's aimed at like a culture or a market that's a bit more sort of had a sort of stronger Christian upbringing.
2006, they remade The Omen.
Oh wow, I didn't know that. Because I don't find that much of The Exorcist very creepy, but then I've never really, had that upbringing sort of thing. I think if you had like a Catholic upbringing, I can imagine it really would make you shit yourself. Like, because you get like, even if you're not particularly like a devout Catholic anymore or whatever, you have a lot of ingrained beliefs, right, and a lot of like just residual kind of feelings about that stuff. So I can imagine it being like pretty terrifying. Although I was quite surprised to know that when I was looking up the stuff for this episode, that the Catholic Church actually thought it was a pro-religious, like a pro-Catholic film.
Yeah, because
and they were like, it did really good things for them.
Yeah, because it put the fact that exorcisms out of the Catholic Church happen, that they're a thing. But I think a lot of people don't realize how hard it is to get the Catholic Church to perform an exorcism. It's not something that they take lightly at all.
No. Kimberly says, I'm not a fan of on-screen vomiting. Trust me, I'm not that much of a fan, but I still watch The Exorcist. And when I say I'm not that much of a fan, yeah, I go to therapy.
Oh my god.
But yeah, I don't mind it. It's really ridiculous, so it's kind of all right.
Yeah, but no, the church does take. That's not something they take lightly. It can take an extremely long time before they actually carry through with one. No, actually, it wasn't based off of Anna Eklund. It was based off of a little boy. And they never, if I remember right, they gave a name, but it didn't turn out to actually be his name.
Talking about The Exorcist?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think he was just called like Ralph Doe or something.
They gave him a name, but they never actually released his full, like, true name. But it was based off of a little boy.
I think the area. I think they know where it was, but yeah. But there's some really good documentaries about it because it's obviously such a classic. There's some really great documentaries about like the making ofs and like the kind of, and also the background behind the film as well. Like you say, like the hunt to people have like tried to find out what it was based on and stuff. So basically, like I thought it was funny that William Peter Blatty, the guy who wrote it, who wrote the book, he was a comedy writer before he wrote it. And he was out of work, so he wrote The Exorcist. And The Exorcist was a story that he'd heard when he was at university, which is a nice segue into urban legends, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
So yeah, basically he heard it as like an urban legend at his university in Washington. But yeah, I thought it was funny that he was a comedy writer before he wrote The Exorcist.
Kimberly said she didn't know it was a phobia. Yes, Ben does not like vomit at all.
It's definitely a phobia.
Ben does not do vomit.
Mm-mm.
Ben can never have children because he doesn't do vomit.
No. Yeah, no, it's a serious phobia. It affects like 98% of sufferers are women, so I'm in the minority.
Well, I mean, I don't particularly love it, but it doesn't.
I think it's skewed
bad.
because probably more women like morning sickness and things like that. Like as an adult, I don't know, but yeah, it is a phobia. Pretty rubbish one. Anyway, enough about that.
Nasty.
Enough about real life.
Let's talk about real life's.
But cats vomit all the time. Yeah, and that's quite funny. It's just biscuits and grass.
Yeah, it's nothing big. It's just stuff.
My cat's got a really good right. So like, I would say like at least 80% of my flat is wood floor. Yeah, and then there's like a rug and a bit of carpet. Whenever my cat wants to be sick, she always manages to find the rug or the carpet.
Always. Always with the soft surfaces. They always find the softest surfaces.
Yeah.
Or
Fun fact.
like if you have a fuzzy blanket, I guarantee you they will find that blanket, and then it's just ruined. You can't get it clean.
I bought a new chair, right? You know, I repainted my lounge recently. I bought a new chair. The cat was sick on it within the first day. Fun fact, Jason Miller, who played Father Damien in The Exorcist, is the father of Jason Patrick, Michael in The Lost Boys. Is he really?
I guess so.
Who knew
I
that?
didn't know that. No, I didn't know that at all. I mean, the biggest thing that sticks out to me from The Lost Boys is the fact that was Kiefer Sutherland.
I think it's because they feel safe on soft things. I think it's just because my cats are shit.
I think it's just because they're jerks. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Jackie Gleason is his maternal grandpa. That's interesting. Yeah, that happens a lot.
Oh, Taco Bell.
Yeah.
Right, let's move on. Definitely.
Yeah. Okay. So moving on from the vomit talk. All right. Where do you want to start, Benjamin?
So we've got a lot of urban legends to read, and some of them are bangers, and one of them nearly fell off my chair when I was reading it.
Which one? Did you not print
I
it
can't
out?
really spoil it, but
Okay, well, don't spoil it.
Duke.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was like, anyway, but we'll get to that. So we've got a whole bunch of urban legends. So urban legends. Have you got any urban legends where you live? Let's start off with our own. Have you got any around where you live anywhere?
No.
Just what? None at all.
No.
Well,
Nothing
interestingly, I feel like there's not that many like local to me so much. Like in England, we have like a load that are like big cats in the
lots
Midlands.
of stuff over there.
Well, we've got like the big cats in the Midlands, and we've got like the Beast of Bodmin and stuff like that. But and obviously you got really famous ones like Spring Hill Jack and that. But actually, I don't think they're the ones that when you say to someone like, oh, what's an urban legend? I don't think they would bring that to mind first, because people tend to go like more local, right? Like, and they start thinking like stuff that's really local to them. So stuff like Spring Hill Jack and all the kind of really famous ones, like the vampires in, cemeteries and things like that, they don't really get brought up so much. The really local ones to me pretty much all revolve around ring forts on the downs. So we've got a bunch of like, because we've got a bunch of like Iron Age ring forts on the hills that's like, in the countryside, like not too far. And like on the edges of the city and that. And they're all pretty much revolve around these ring forts being like something to do with devil worship. And, there's loads of, so like urban legends, which is like if you go there at midnight, run around them like 13 times backwards, then you'll summon the devil or whatever, and things like that. So most of the urban legends that I can think of that spring to mind for me are all to do with the ring forts pretty much. There's a lot of ghosts and stuff like that, but I feel like they sort of lean away from like urban legend and just like spooky story that someone's made up, if you know what I mean. Like they don't have any sort of like basis in like anything deeper than that.
Right.
Whereas like the ring forts kind of have a history to it, if you know what I mean. Like, or at least a pseudo history. Like even if it's not real, it sounds plausible. Like or I say plausible. That depends. But
did you see what Courtney said?
What's that?
She's been covered in human ash by accident once.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, oh God. Courtney used to work at a cemetery, guys, just in case you're wondering. So it's not like
still though, is that normal?
No, but yeah, accident. But yeah, I mean, it's not like something you just, that happens all the time. Someone spread ashes in the car. Who would do that? Why did they do that? Why would they spread ashes in the garden? People try to spread ashes in Disneyland all the time.
Big Lebowski style, yeah.
Oh my God. It was
Donnie,
a windy day. Oh.
I love that film.
Oh God.
So I know of no Maine urban legends, surprisingly.
I'm-
No urban legends in Maine. Surely that's
I'm
not true, because
sure
Maine
that
is
there's
spooky, right?
one.
Like, Maine's one of my favourite
Legend in
spooky
Maine.
states, and I don't even know anything about it. It just has to be spooky, because when you see pictures of it and things like that,
It's all right.
it's just,
She's on it. I just assigned that to the kid.
hey. I didn't notice while weeding said garden. It was a windy day.
That was
So it pretty much was like Big Lebowski then.
A lake monster?
What's that?
There's a lake monster?
Oh, we've got a lake
Haunted
monster.
Lighthouse?
What,
A
from
lighthouse?
Maine?
Yes.
Oh, I've heard of the lighthouse one,
Yes.
actually.
Which one?
The lighthouse in Maine.
Are you wanting to know the lighthouse is?
Yeah. Which lighthouse?
Wood Island Lighthouse?
No.
Or Seguin? Seguin?
Sigwin? I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know how to say the last one, but
Ghost Bride of
I don't-
Haynesville Woods. That sounds lit.
ooh.
Fort William Henry haunting. Wait, didn't the ghost hunters go there?
Yeah, they did there. Wait, what was that one before that? The bride thing?
The Ghost Bride of Haynesville Woods.
So one of the local, I made one of the local urban legends for me into an episode, didn't I? When I did the the woods, with the there was like a cult of satanic
Yeah.
demon cult or
God
whatever that was in the
damn
woods.
it.
It's a kind of a long time ago. I think it was maybe
No, it
season
wasn't
2.
season 1, season 2.
Might even been season 1.
Cap-
Yeah.
Captain, how do you say it? CATHAM?
Oh, was it the Clapham
Clapham
Woods?
Woods, yeah.
Yeah. So that's quite a recent urban legend that's sort of nearer
Well,
to me.
no,
But
because the
again,
other
it's
one,
like devil worship. There's loads of them around here.
yeah, but the other one that you did was the Hairy Hands of Dartmoor.
Yeah, see, but that's not so famous. Like, people don't know that, so it doesn't spring to mind, if you know what I mean. Like, I only know it because I read it in that book, and it was just, the name of it was ridiculous. The skunk gorilla of Florida.
Oh Lord, the skunk ape. Hey, Morelli, do you know of Interstate or Route 2A in the northern part of Maine? Because that goes through Haynesville Woods, and apparently there is a ghost bride in Haynesville Woods. Nice.
I do know that now that there's apparently 125 haunted places in my city. Because I was looking it up earlier, and someone actually has catalogued every single haunted pub or restaurant or whatever in my city, and there's 125 haunted pubs.
Haunted places.
Oh, well,
yeah.
The Ghost Bride of Haynesville Road says, after appearing out of nowhere, the woman seems to be in need of help. Drivers report pulling over to offer her a ride, which she accepts. While in the car, drivers say they felt a chill in the air around her. As the car nears the end of the road, the woman disappears completely as if she'd never been there at all. The story,
dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun! The story is said to be the ghost of a newlywed bride who was in a car accident with her new husband in the same woods. The man died immediately, but the woman was able to free herself. Once out of the car, she was unable to walk and met her end by freezing to death at the side of the road.
There was a Supernatural episode about that.
Youch.
Morelli, I think on Marsh Island there is a ghost lady not far from here.
Well,
That sounds like the woman in black in Marsh House.
it
sounds
does. That really does. Doesn't it? That movie?
I love The Woman in Black. It's an amazing book. I love it. It's one of my favourite, like, traditional ghost stories.
Oh, wait. Marsh Island Ghost Bride? Is that close? Ghost? I don't know.
Sounds like it. Marsh Island Ghost Lady. Marsh Island Ghost Bride.
Sounds good. I don't know. Lots of.
So ones that we got sent in.
Okay, yeah.
We got tons.
Yes.
So should we crack on with some of them?
Yeah. Go for it.
So we're going to read them out, right? We're going to
yeah.
read people to sleep, basically.
Basically. That's our job here. Sleep
yeah.
tight.
Yeah, exactly. So tuck yourself in. No, they're not that long, actually, are they? Most of them. There's a few that are like a little longer, but Yeah, so the first one we got was sent in by Jonathan, and it was called The Hairy Man of Old Hebron, from Hebron in Utah. Now, remind me where that is?
In Utah, more of the western United States.
Oh,
I
okay.
guess.
So is it like quite center? Is it like where's in relation to Texas and California? Is it like up and to the east?
Up and to the east, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I get it. And yeah, so the hairy man of Old Hebron. Do you want it?
Go for it.
So the town of Hebron was settled in 1860s in the countryside of southwestern Utah, just miles from the Nevada border. Originally a livestock settlement, it eventually grew into a ranching community, but all that remains today is a small cemetery commemorating the first inhabitants. In 1896, a dam was erected nearby, drying up the valley and making farming a challenge. Most residents left in 1902 after an earthquake destroyed much of the small settlement. That's quite interesting, I find. Like, I'm going to stop right there for a second, because that's something that you can actually check, right? Like, if there was an earthquake, which we'll get onto anyway. We'll come back to that. So, many migrated east to the nearest town of Enterprise, less than 10 miles away. The town was named for the residents' enterprising plan to find a water supply by building the aforementioned dam in 1896. Constructed of rocks and cement, the primitive structure became a popular attraction to the region, and many came to see the dam, which had defied the odds and now had stood firm for over a century. When the dam was first built, tourist traffic in the area consisted mostly of horseback riders and carriages. By the late 1920s, roads made it accessible to travel by automobile, which gave more travellers access to see the wonder that was the dam. As more and more flocked to the attraction, a common theme began to echo through the area. Strange sightings of a Sasquatch-like character. The hilly forest. I knew the very first one was going to be a Sasquatch, right?
I didn't write the story.
The hilly forested area and windy roads provided a mysterious background where the legend would thrive. Flashes of a tall creature with long draping hair covering his body would appear at night, startling campers, hunters and passers-by. The creature would move silently through the forest, but witnesses reported smelling an overpowering pungent smell before the sighting. The legend came to be known as the Hairy Man of Old Hebron. As the legend grew, many theorized that the Paiute Indians, local to the area, would cover themselves with horsehair and scented oils as a method of hunting that would both disguise them and attract their prey. Locals claim that the Paiute lands covered a large area throughout southern Utah, but these sightings hadn't been reported in other parts. The tribe would deny these methods of hunting, and reported sightings continued long after the Paiute were forced out of the area. A nearby mining tunnel was rumoured to be where the hairy man of Old Hebron resided, although no concrete evidence was ever found there. Those who were courageous enough to pass through the tunnel would often report a foul odour, and occasional patches of hair were found throughout the narrow cave that was carved through the rocky mountainside. Today, youth in the area brave the tunnel at night as a rite of passage. Passing through the narrow cave means lining up in a single file line with the leader wearing a flashlight. Legend has it that the last member in line will often feel a coarse brush of hair scrape across their neck from behind. Dun, 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 dun. So that's like an interesting one to start with, right? Because it's got a couple of things that I find really interesting about urban legends. In that instantly, it gives it like a home, like a secret cave that it might live in. So like, you've got like Sasquatch, right? Which is a bit more developed than an urban legend at this point, isn't it? Right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got this hairy old man of Hebron, but like instantly, it's kind of, he's got that place where he lives, you know, it kind of like anchors it to the area, like to the local area. It finds like a local landmark and it makes something of it. And I think that's like a feature of like most urban legends, right? It like turns a feature in a local area into something of a landmark.
Yes.
Something more important than, you know, just an empty old cave with a load of old rubbish in it, that it probably is, suddenly gets turned into being like much more. But what are you doing?
We're smiling because Pippin's asleep.
Ah.
I know there's a lot of I know, Kelly, I muted it. That's why I muted it with the typing. It's not my keyboard. Usually my keyboard's pretty quiet, but it's my daughter's keyboard and she likes.
Does your daughter have a mechanical keyboard?
Yes, she does. I don't, so mine's
I
pretty
love
quiet when I
mechanical
type.
keyboards, but my
I
neighbours
know.
must hate me when I'm writing at like 3 o'clock in the morning, going like.
I know. That's why I muted it. No, for most of I know there's a lot of new people. Pippin's our 2-year-old border collie, so when he's asleep, it's kind of nice sometimes.
He's pretty hyperactive. Normally on the streams, he's like tearing around.
He's very energetic. He's a border collie.
Yeah, he's pretty Larry.
Oh, good God. But yeah, it is. I think the other thing too that was interesting about this legend was they always, for the time that it supposedly started, you always got to blame the indigenous people,
Yeah.
I mean, but seriously, they attributed it to the Paiutes, covering themselves with horsehair and scented oils as a method of hunting. It's like, no, they didn't need to do that. They knew how to hunt when they needed to hunt. They didn't have to disguise themselves.
It's always that typical kind of like the exotic other, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's a
exactly.
sense of othering. So you sort of are there that like, yeah, it's like that othering. So that they do things differently. Therefore, we can kind of attribute it to that, and it's instantly like exotic, unknown, potentially creepy. And I did a really interesting. I guess you see it with like a lot like so Stephen King. Pet Cemetery is a really famous example of this, where the cemetery happens to be like an old Indian burial ground, and you hear Indian burial ground crop up a lot, and it's always that, right? And there's this really interesting like psychology behind it, where it's kind of like well, this is a theory that it's essentially like guilt from so the British Empire, they said that there was a lot of it in the British Empire in the 1920s and 30s of like this kind of guilt of like going to other countries and raping them essentially. And so like a lot of the mummy worship and stuff like that went on in the 1920s, like the excitement for Egypt and Egyptology and stuff like that, sort of focuses around this kind of like idea of like guilt of being the invader. That's kind of like, it's really interesting.
Going and robbing and pillaging the tombs and everything. Yeah.
Yeah, but you always hear it with that, like with the American legends. It quite often like they lean towards like the indigenous, right? And like or it'll be like a Indian burial ground or skinwalker or whatever. Like it's kind of interesting, like that. Yeah. But I mean, it depends how deep you want to get into it, right? It could just be a cool story, but
true. True.
But I think it's interesting either way.
Yeah. No. Totally. Maybe it was nice.
Sojourner Truth was checking out your playlist. Need to watch your video on Doubt of Past. It's a really old one for starters, but it's not that it's as bad, but it's just really old and I don't remember. But I'd love to go back and like redo that because there's sort of taking a look, because since I've done that, like a lot of new stuff's come out about it. Because it's going back like 3 years now, and they've definitely some new theories have come out and stuff like that.
There's some new theories that actually have some good substance to them.
There's a few episodes I've got like that haven't really aged very well in that sense, like, because they're still like ongoing investigations. Like Summit and Man's another one, right? It's like a huge mystery, but it's constantly evolving, and there's like new stuff almost every year. So that one's going back like 3 or 4 years now. So there's definitely new stuff.
There's just a few that you just
nice mug, by the way. Thanks, Sarah. So bright and Hove Albion mug. I would be interested in the update. Yeah. I'd like to as well, Kimberly. I'd like that. At some point, I probably should do that, like an episode where I go back and maybe hit some like 2 or 3 of the older ones and just do some updates, maybe like something like that. I'll have a look at that mini doc. I liked your episode with the pictures and maps. Yeah, so like it's just too much work for one person, though. Sadly, like to write 10,000 words in 2 weeks is plenty enough. I'm not finding pictures and maps as well, and also then you're dealing with like getting like your ass handed to you. Like I've had like cease and desists and stuff where I've used a picture before, and sometimes they're not pleasant when you've got someone saying, by the way, you owe us £12,000, and you're like, what? Anyway, so, but yeah, no, it's just too much work. I would like to do something with the videos that gives them a visual element, and I'm sort of got some irons in the fire, but it's a lot of work. But I'm looking into doing something like that. It's all very loose plans.
Yeah, it's just a lot of work.
To not go anywhere.
And getting an episode out when it's supposed to be scheduled to be out is hard enough.
It's hard enough. Yeah, I do struggle.
So let's go to Lakeview Cemetery.
Yeah, so this is right from Rob.
Yeah.
Right, okay. This is not a real place, surely.
No, it's real. Yeah, it's a real place.
Is it not just there to make everyone confused? Because every time I go to read it, like 4 times I read this today, and all 4 times I said cinnamonism.
No, it's a real place. It's a place, like on the map. It's a city. It's a place. It's a real place.
So Cinnaminson. Is that how you say it? Cinnaminson?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is from Lakeview Cemetery in Cinnaminson. Are you reading this one? Am I reading it?
Oh, go ahead.
Okay. It's a beautiful cemetery, apparently, set on a rolling hill with a big lake at the bottom. It's called Lakeview Cemetery, rather pedantically. Anyway, just past the lake, behind the mausoleum, but before you go up to the giant hill, there is a section of the cemetery devoted specifically to orphans and children. It's in the shade of the hill and a giant willow, sort of set back in a natural crescent formed by the hill. The legend is that at night you can watch children's footprints appear in the mud and hear them crying. I went a few times in high school and we heard things for sure, but the ground was never muddy enough, I think, to see. It's creepy as hell regardless, because of all the little graves and all the little gravestones and little angel statues. So that is like a classic as well, really, isn't it? Like the kind of child graves and stuff like that. That's another like recurring theme, but it's definitely creepy. The next one, I'm going to go straight into the next one because this one reminded me, and this is from Sarah and Mrs. Sarah, Sarah and Mr. Sarah.
I'm so laughing excited about this one. I love this one.
Oh, yeah. And it really reminds me of another one, which I'll talk about afterwards, but it's really interesting. There's loads of parallels and they're completely opposite sides of the world. But anyway,
really?
So we've got the Dwarves of Haunteeville from Wisconsin. Now, I love the fact that it's Haunteeville for a start. I'm actually sure that place names in America are a massive piss take, because so far we've got Haunteeville, Cinnamonism, and Hebron, the hairy man of Hebron. I mean, is this part of making urban legends? You've got to make the name absolutely ridiculous.
You never know. It could be.
So, the Dwarves of Haunteeville from Wisconsin. Haunteeville is a mythical village of dwarves in Waukesha County, Wisconsin. I hope it's pronounced like that.
You're fine.
It is rumoured to be located near Mystic Drive in Muskego. Right. Sarah and Mrs. Sarah, were you taking the piss when you wrote this? It's rumoured to be located near Mystic Drive in Muskego?
Muskego, yeah.
Muskego, okay. Locals say that within the woods near Muskego, Wisconsin, lives a conclave of dwarfs whose homes are built to scale. And in the woods, in the mythical village, is said to live an old albino man who serves as their protector. Legend has it, if trespassers are caught, the unruly dwarves cut their legs from their knees down so they are forced to live like one of them. According to the legend, after continuous exploitation of a number of circus dwarves, they revolted against their ringleader. After killing their master, they hanged him in a wooded area, after first cutting off his arms and legs, to avoid being arrested or even worse consequences from the circus community. The dwarves set out to create their own community, built exclusively for dwarves.
That's right.
The story goes that in the woods lives an old man among the dwarfs. He's said to wait at the end of Mystic Drive, shotgun in hand, to ward off anyone trying to cause trouble to the dwarfs. The story also goes that he first met the group of dwarfs as a child. As a young boy, he accidentally stumbled upon Haunteeville, and upon instantly treating them as equals, they sheltered the young boy and raised him as one of their own. As he grew up, he notoriously defended the dwarves, often resorting to violence.
Dun, dun, dun.
So that's cool. It's got loads and loads and loads. I mean, aside from the bonkers fact that there's like an old albino like ringleader.
Oh, an albino ringleader. Yeah. Do you know what they mean, right? Or I should say, do you know what they mean by an albino?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, one of my friends is an albino.
Oh really?
Yeah. Well, I'm not sure if he is genuine,
Like
but
fully.
he's pretty see-through, and he's got like, like, no. He's a bit you don't ask these people these things, do you? But he's got like really strawberry blonde hair, and he's really see-through, and he's got like really white eyes, and stuff. So you just don't bring it up. But anyway, moving on.
You're like, yeah,
So
he's
this
like
reminds-
see right through him.
He's like a salamander.
Sharona says when Ben says someone is pale.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah. But yeah, no, he's cracker. He's my friend's boyfriend. Lovely bloke.
Oh my god.
So this anyway has got loads and loads and loads, and I felt it was really interesting. Loads of parallels with Inanaki village in Japan, right? And it's really interesting in that it's almost like they're again.
Oh. Did we lose Ben? Uh-oh. Is that what just happened? Yep.
I'm back.
Like, what the hell? I'm like, did we just lose Ben?
Yeah, so I slid my finger on my magic mouse, and it made me leave. Sorry about that. I've closed everything.
I was like, shit, what do I do now?
It's just, I've closed everything. Oh, it's all gone wrong. Not so magic now, are you, mouse, you bastard?
And you
Hold the fort, 2 seconds.
yeah,
in an
I've got it all printed out.
Yeah, right. Why am I not using a different computer for this?
I don't know. Oh, good lord. That was good. That was really
Sorry,
good.
we're there. So yeah, anyway, I know that this isn't written down anyway. So Inanaki village in Japan is a village that is kind of similar in that it's like a lost village in the middle of the woods that is kind of, it has like apparently when you get to the entrance, which is at the front of a cave or a front of a tunnel, that she's talking trash about you. She always talks trash about me to my face. I won't worry about it. Yeah, there's like a long tunnel that goes to this village, and there's like a signpost outside that says like basically past this point exists outside of Japanese law. And you know, there's this like the people of the village are like outcasts and kind of degenerates, and they've lived there forever. And you know, it's kind of like if you go there, like, you know, there be monsters. You know, ye be warned, there be monsters or whatever. It's that kind of thing. And I thought that it was really interesting when I was reading Mr. and Mrs. Sarah's thing there of the Haunteeville, in that, yeah, that's another trope, isn't it? That kind of like abandoned village that's kind of been left to go feral. Like,
yeah.
Because there's a film as well with Danny Dyer in it called, I can't remember, but it's quite funny. And it's like a black comedy, but also slight of a horror. And that's kind of a similar vibe as well, where that, you know, like you have like these people that live in the woods that have kind of gone feral, and they kind of exist outside of the law. So I thought that was interesting, and that, yeah, there was parallels there as well. And the fact that the parallels were there, but one was from America and the other was from Japan, you know, like. But yeah, anyway, Danny Dyer, yeah, he's not the best, but that film's a good that's like the one Danny Dyer film that I'd actually recommend people to watch. It's actually really funny.
I've never heard of him. I'm going to be honest. I don't know who that
Oh,
is.
he's awful. So he's like a Cockney geezer, and he's like, and he's been typecast as that kind of character as well.
Oh, did he just embrace it and run with it?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
So one of the very first films he was in was a kind of train spotting-esque type thing, but it was more about ecstasy
okay.
rather than heroin. And he was really young in that. And he was really quite funny in it as well. But then he kind of just took that character and just redid it over and over and over again. And yeah, he's just this like Cockney geezer, and he gov. But that's quite a good film. Outside of that, where like anyway, it's all set in the Eastern European woods, and it's like a horror but a comedy at the same time. It's pretty good.
It reminded, when I read it, it reminded me of the legend of the Pukwudgie.
What, this story?
Yeah.
I go on. I don't know the Pukwudgie. I've talked a lot. Tell me the legend of the Pukwudgie.
I knew you were gonna say that. I'm like, dang it. Hold on. Sorry, I was typing. So, Pukwudgie. Well, first of all, it's like they call it the little man of the woods that vanishes. It's a human-like creature found in Delaware and Wampanoag folklore, sometimes said to be 2 to 3 feet tall. According to legend, Pukwudgies can appear and disappear at will, lure people to their deaths, use magic, launch poison arrows, and create fire. Very, very, resourceful little guys. Native Americans believed that Pukwudgies were once friendly to humans, but then turned against them and are best left alone. According to lore, a person who annoyed a Pukwudgie would be subject to nasty tricks by it, or subject to being followed by the Pukwudgie, who would cause trouble for them. They are known to kidnap people, push them off cliffs, attack their victims with short knives and spears, and use sand to blind their victims. My kind of little guys.
They remind me of.
Gotta love a Pukwudgie.
There's those Australian things that live in the trees.
Drop bears?
No, they're not as scary as them, I don't think. They're a little bit more easygoing than them. But that's not very helpful, is it? Not knowing what they actually remind me of. But yeah, they remind me of them anyway.
Yeah. It reminded me of Pukwudgies. Koalas.
Koalas. Yeah, they're pretty scary by themselves. It's in the size of their claws.
Yeah, seriously. They also sound like the Menehune from Hawaii. I don't know if that's how you say it. I may have butchered that, but I tried.
Don't know what that is. You have to fill us in.
I don't know.
So should we do the choking dog? This is one's from Australia.
Do you want me to read it for you? That way you don't freak out. I know this is deep.
Yeah, if you want. So this was sent in by Sue, wasn't it?
Yeah.
From Australia, which is cool. Stretching our limbs.
I know. I thought that was really great because we really did get a good smattering from different places, which was nice.
Yeah.
I liked that. It wasn't all just the US, so I appreciate that. Okay, so this is the story of the choking dog from Sydney, Australia. It says, a woman lived alone in a house in the suburbs of southern Sydney. One morning, she went to the shops in her car. While she was away, she locked her dog, Duke, a big Doberman pinscher, in the house. Duke was a pet, not a trained dog, like a trained guard dog, but the woman felt much safer with him around. She usually locked him in the house when she went away because she knew that he was known to bark and dig holes if he was on his own in the backyard. God. The woman returned an hour or so later and let herself in the front door. She was met at the door by Duke, but he was in a very bad way. He was choking and salivating and semi-collapsed. She rang her local vet from the telephone just inside the door and managed to half-drag poor Duke out to the car and drove off at speed. Fortunately, the vet was just in the next suburb. The distraught woman was met in the car park by the vet and 2 nurses with a stretcher. He was carted off into the veterinary hospital, and the woman was told to go home and wait for a phone call. When she once more got out of her car into her driveway, she could hear the telephone ringing just inside the door of her house. It rang out before she could get the door open, but it started up again a few seconds later. On the other end of the line was the veterinarian. He told her that Duke was okay, but she was in danger. She was told to hang up the phone, get out of the house, and lock herself in her car until the police arrived. The vet had called the police, and they would be there soon. The police arrived less than 10 minutes later with sirens blaring and lights flashing. The woman let the police into the house, and they found a burglar dead in the bathroom, part of his right hand and 2 fingers missing, and his throat badly lacerated, lying in a huge pool of blood on the floor. The veterinarian had removed the missing fingers from Duke's throat.
I love that because all along I was waiting for Duke to be like the bad guy, and it was like, he's the good guy. Ah!
Took his fingers off!
No, I love that. I like the plot twist. I totally didn't see it coming.
Like,
the whole time I was like, how are they going to get Duke back from the vet hospital?
Oh, they didn't worry about it. He's fine. Duke's good. He's all right.
Yeah. I was like, is Duke going to have been dead? And is he going to be like a phantom dog? And then it was like, no.
I know.
He was choking on the fingers.
Yeah, it reminded me a lot of the whole trope with, like, the babysitter taking care of the kids, and then, the phone call, and, or the call from the parents just checking on the kids. And she's like, yeah, except for that, that weird doll that you have sitting on the chair in the corner. They're like, what doll? What are you talking about? And she's like, well, the doll that was sitting in the chair. And she's like, wait, it's not there anymore. And they're like, get the kids, get out of the house. It just reminded me of that trope, or like the phone call from inside the house type of a thing. But I was like, oh man, good old Duke. Yes, Duke is the bestest boy. You're right, Sharona.
If this is the Choking Doberman, see, it was the Choking Doberman pretty much. Yeah, have you heard that before, Sarah?
And yes, Duke is okay, Morelli. Duke was fine.
So the next one's a short one. Submitted by Sam, and this is in Omaha, Nebraska. All have to do with a place called Hummel Park, which is a wooded city park on the. I assume it means all the urban legends like around his area have to do with a place called Hummel Park, which is a wooded city park on the outskirts of the metro. Multiple murders and suicides have occurred in the park, and there have been confirmed reports of satanic rituals. There's a famous morphing staircase where legends say you won't get the same number of stairs coming up that you counted going down. There's a large brick pavilion with an inverted star on the centre of the floor and 2 fireplaces that are said to have contained child sacrifices to the devil. On the east side of the park is a place called the Devil's Slide, which is reported to be a popular place to commit suicide. Now that sounds like a lot of the legends like where I live, like they're all to do with like satanic rituals, demon sacrifices, things like that, like summoning the demon somehow. I don't know if that's like a popular. I mean, I guess it is a popular thing everywhere, isn't it? But
sure. And it says Duke lived a long, fulfilling life as a hero, where he got lots of treats and pets for being such a good boy. Does it look totally haunted? Does that staircase look totally freaky? I don't know. It seems like it would. Seems like it would be just really kind of old and decrepit, kind of either creaky or just with a lot of stuff growing around it. I don't know. Just seems kind of strange. Just seems weird. I don't know. Satanic rituals. That's so weird.
So we got.
What do we got?
Maeb, Lady Betty from Ireland. From Maeb.
Oh, you
it's
skipped
Mabe,
one.
isn't it? That's a name.
Yeah.
So I skipped a couple ahead, and then we're going to come back, I think. Sorry.
That's okay.
It's just I like the fact that this one was from Ireland. I was like, let's
I
go to a
think
different
that's cool.
country.
That's what I'm saying. It was really neat because we did get some from different places, which yeah. So cool. Yeah, is it Mabe? Is that how you say it?
I think it's Mabe, yeah, I would say.
I wasn't sure. I didn't want to try.
No, I would guess it's Mabe, but so this was submitted by Mabe from Ireland. It's Lady Betty. Another urban legend with a foothold in fact is the story of Lady Betty, Ireland's only hangwoman. Lady Betty was not a member of the gentry at all, but a Kerry widow named Elizabeth Surgrew. After her husband died, she was penniless and got evicted from her home, along with their 2 boys. They made their way by foot to Roscommon. It was such a long and arduous journey, and one of the boys died en route. Kerry to Roscommon today would take about 4 hours by car. There's a wiki page with the details of her life. She ended up in Roscommon jail after murdering her son. Some say it was an accident, as she didn't recognise him. She had returned a man. after years of being in America, he had
He had
returned a
returned a
man.
man.
After being, yeah, I was going to say he had returned a man after years of being in America. Betty was still a penniless widow, scrimping and scraping to get by. She thought she had an easy target when a rich American came to stay. The story doesn't end with her being convicted, so she killed her own son, thinking that it was the rich American that was coming to stay. Gutted. Her sentence was death by hanging. On the day she was to be hanged, the hangman wasn't available, was sick, or refused to hang a woman. There's a few versions of this bit. So Betty said that they would hang her fellow convicts if she herself got a reprieve. This was granted, and Betty lived her days in the jail and performed the duty of hangwoman until she died. The town jail, where Betty was incarcerated and subsequently worked as a hangwoman, is still a landmark building in the centre of the town. Still clearly visible is the hanging arch at the top of the building. This was reportedly the longest drop in all of Ireland. The jail is now a shopping centre, but Betty's remains are still buried on the ground somewhere. There are many older locals who refuse to shop in the jail, and we were told as kids if we hung around the jail at night, it was derelict in the 80s, that you can hear Betty crying at night, supposedly out of grief for killing her son. That's a cool story. So she was convicted, and sentenced to hanging, but they couldn't hang her, so she became the hangwoman for like the rest of her days. That's cool. I like that.
It's like, cool, she was hung, right? Hanged.
That's quite a good rap, really. I mean, that's quite a good rap. I mean, if you're gonna, like, you know, if someone says to you, you can either die or hang loads of other people for the rest of your days, I know what I'd take. I'd
Yeah,
be like,
no, definitely.
Pass me the
I'd be
rope.
like, right, here you go.
Who's
Right
first?
in.
Form an orderly queue.
No, that's true. But it's funny because the whole thing about her crying at night, you know, and people hearing her cry at night, it has ties to so many different urban legends kind of across the way.
It's really interesting in that one is like almost entirely, you got to say that that's like a really specifically local legend that probably isn't repeated elsewhere, right? Like, because it's very much rooted in like local kind of history. But then you've got that end bit, which is like a kind of, like a really common trope, isn't it? Like almost like tacked on to kind of give it like that urban legend kind of vibe, like of the, late at
like
night.
the wailing woman, you know.
Yeah, late at night you said you'll be able to hear her cry or scream or whatever.
Like the whole, what is it? Is it not Lala Chusa? What's her name? The one from like Texas.
Paul, Melinda. I'm doing very well. How are you doing?
Yeah.
This
Paul
man,
had his friend last night.
This
man, can we just sidetrack for a minute? And it's about like, you know, the talent that is Paul Melinda.
Do you think he knows how often we've sat and talked about him?
No, right now he probably does, but yes, La Llorona is the whole weeping woman thing because she
drowns
the kids or something like that. But so now Paul does know that we sit there and talk about him a lot. Thanks.
Wax lyrical about him every time we start talking about Instagram. It's like, did you see again?
Did you see what that man drew?
So La Llorona, that's the Mexican one with the woman who drowned her. Is she like drowning children because
something happened, like her husband either had an affair or left her or something like that, and so her method of revenge was to just drown the kids, I guess.
And so now she's like going around drowning other children, right? And that's like, if you hear the scream, then you'll be next kind of thing.
I think that's Lala Chusa, but the one with La Llorona is the one where you can hear her crying at night because she is just so torn about what she did, and it's like, well, you're the one that held their head under, but hey, regrets. #regrets. I don't know. I just think that, she probably could have made different choices. But hey, who am I to say? All right, let's go in a different route. No more screaming women. We're going to go with something different. I've got something from a book by Lyle Blackburn.
Go for it.
Already. This is something, it's a legend out of Florida, and the name of the book is called Sinister Swamps. So just
that everything comes out of Florida is mental,
not
right?
everything, but
okay.
a lot of things, yes. Things are. Anyway, this first-hand eyewitness story is very detailed and, by all accounts, credible. The witness in this case was an 18-year-old man who, at the time, was volunteering at a Florida paleontology museum while working toward his degrees in paleontology and zoology. According to the man, whose name has respectfully been kept from the public record, he saw a creature that he could not identify while kayaking one of many canals of the swampy St. Johns River Delta in central Florida. The witness explained that in April of 2013, he was paddling through its brackish waters when something bumped his kayak. He didn't get a good look at the animal at first, so he took it to be a large alligator, judging from a quick glimpse of a dark, scaly body and scutes ripping down its back. Concerned about the size, he quickly rowed to the nearest bank and got out of his kayak. He stood on the sandy shore and watched the animal navigate to the bank further down and crawl out of the water. Much to the witness's surprise, this was no mere gator. It had the general body characteristics of an alligator, but the head appeared much taller vertically than any alligator or crocodile he'd ever seen. It also had arms that were much longer and much larger than a normal crocodilian, with very obvious muscular tissue showing through the scales. Its legs, too, were broader and thicker and positioned directly below the body rather than off to the sides like a reptile. Everything about this creature was disturbingly different. To make matters worse, it rose up on its hind legs and stood up. The witness said he could feel the blood run cold as this thing, which stood at least 6 to 7 feet tall, turned and looked at him. He said it was completely unlike anything I'd ever seen, either living or in the fossil record. I tried to scream, but I couldn't even get it out of my throat. The creature raised its elbows and made a deep hissing sound. Before the witness could run, it turned and walked into the woods, first on 2 legs and then dropping back to all 4s before disappearing into the brush. The startled witness quickly tied his kayak to a tree and ran to the nearest road. He did not dare get back into the water. Ben's face.
An alligator by itself is scary enough. You don't need to add all this shit on. If I went outside and saw an alligator, I'd brick it. You don't need it to be walking on 2 legs as well. Goodness sake, America.
And muscles.
Florida, I told you, this is Florida.
And it had muscles. Muscles that he could see rippling through the scale.
A big sexy, muscly alligator.
That's terrifying. What was that? What kind of alligator, walks on its hind legs? It doesn't. They can't. It doesn't work that way. Florida, so meth-induced. Probably so, bath salts. Yeah. Oh my God. Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
It reminded me of the creature from the Black Lagoon.
Yeah, I love cryptids actually. We don't do enough cryptid stuff on Dark Histories.
No, we don't.
Mainly because I don't know actually.
Yeah, I don't know either.
Why have I not done enough? Why haven't I? Right,
What?
I got it. Right, so that'll be soon.
Can you just remedy that for me?
Yeah, I think we should. Yeah, I'll have to. Yeah, that's definitely going to happen.
Yeah. So yeah. Scales
Just
and
imagine
scales.
Wallygator. I don't know what Wallygator is, but I can imagine from the name.
I don't know. It's just creepy, is what it is. Sarah said, "Sexy, muscly alligator." Ew. But isn't that weird?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like the fact that in Florida, just an alligator isn't scary enough by itself. You've got to you've got to boof it up.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, in
Florida.
England, our urban legends are there was a cat. It was slightly larger than a domestic one. Oh! in Florida, you've got gigantic, sexy, muscly alligators with rippling forearms and.
Oh, here's Pippin.
Hi, Pippin.
Hi.
Beast of Shovel Dan. Oh yeah, I suppose. I did that one, didn't I? The Beast of Shovel Dan.
Yeah, and it was
Did
good.
cover that. But yeah, no, I haven't done anything like any like the kind of like Lake Okoboji lake monsters and things like that.
Did you see that? Did you see Angry Hobo made a suggestion?
Not yet. My chat is slightly behind yours, I think.
Oh.
Oh, a Sasquatch episode, perhaps. I've definitely been one day.
I know, no one encouraged.
Where would I even start with that?
Oh, there are so many places to start. I don't know.
Yeah, the thing is, you do a Sasquatch episode or anything like that, and you know that you're going to piss off like 99% of people and please maybe one.
I don't know. I mean, you get 1-star reviews from someone who says they don't want to sit there and listen to you talk about history when the name of the podcast is Dark Histories.
I love it when they're like, oh, what's this exposition at the start?
So there's that.
Yeah. Well,
like, oh, I don't know.
God, it's not even any pictures. Oh.
I know.
Oh. Words, an hour of words. Oh my God.
An hour of words. This stupid podcast doesn't even come with pictures.
So Epping Forest between London and Essex in England. So this is kind of near. I mean, it's not that near me, but I've heard of this.
Have you?
I've heard of Epping Forest. Yeah, Epping Forest is pretty famous. So restless spirits have been blamed for Epping Forest's most well-known and bizarre supernatural phenomena. I keep putting this behind my webcam. Restless spirits have been blamed for Epping Forest's most well-known and bizarre supernatural phenomena that persists to this day. Cars appearing to roll uphill at Hangman's Hill. Folklore states that many years ago, a hangman lost control of his senses and embarked on a gruesome killing spree. He would bring his victims to the bottom of a hill in Epping Forest late at night and tie a rope around their necks. He would then drag them onto the top of the hill by the rope. If they survived the journey, he would chop off their heads and bury them at the top of the hill. Many people still believe the hangman can be seen after dark carrying out his duties. Others say the story is that of a group of 3 men had committed a terrible crime in the 1800s, but the government ended up accusing the wrong 3 men. These 3 innocent men were hung at the top of this hill, and the ropes and brackets are still there to this day. If left in neutral, cars left at the bottom of Hangman's Hill in High Beach appear to defy gravity and roll uphill. As you roll to the top of the hill and look straight ahead, you'll find yourself looking over a bare field with a single tree before you. This tree is said to have been where executions took place. A more scientific explanation suggests the phenomena occurs because of an optical illusion, with the road only appearing to slope upwards. And it is this. Hangman's Hill is known as Gravity Hill or Magnetic Hill. This is a place that is actually sloped downwards, even though to anyone standing at the base, it looks as if it's sloping upwards. This is due to the layout of the area around it. The slope is just one of nature's very clever optical illusions. If water is poured, it will float upwards, which can be very creepy, and a car left out of gear will actually look as though it's moving upwards as if it's being pulled. Despite the mystery of Hangman's Hill being solved, many people have been left unable to explain their own experiences in the forest, and the supernatural legacy of criminal activity and hidden violence persists to this day. That was submitted by Alison, and I'd heard of that before, and I always remember it because it was on a like strange but true kind of, so it's like a kind of British, if you imagine like those kind of generally quite bad like History Channel documentary type things. It was on one of those, and they used Portishead as the soundtrack, and that's the only reason I remember it, because it basically like introduced me to Portishead when I was about 13 years old, which is, if anyone, I don't know if that's completely over most people's heads. Portishead, good band.
I don't think most people have. I do, but I don't think most people have. It's not like mainstream. Excuse him.
But yeah, no, that was my introduction. Was a documentary about that. It's really interesting. It's really fascinating how, yeah, it's all just like an optical illusion, and it makes it look like it's uphill, but it ain't. It's really weird, and it is freaky as hell.
Yeah, I thought
if you look it up, there's video of it. It's really interesting.
Well, and I thought it was interesting, and this is just an example that Jeremy from Freeman, Missouri, submitted Gravity Hill. which is just, and then like Sharona was saying, they've got, or Kimberly was saying, they've got the mystery spot, which is in Santa Cruz, California, which is kind of
Similar thing.
And wacky. Yeah. So, and Natalie said there is one in Michigan too. So, and in Pennsylvania. See, there's all kinds of gravity hills.
Yeah.
Maybe Newton
I guess it's
was
quite
wrong.
a common thing.
Maybe the apple didn't fall down.
Flat earthers, mate.
Gravity is
Don't even start.
We are on YouTube. It's the place for it. Got to be careful what you say around
here.
here.
It's the home of flat earthers. It is native. That is truly native to flat earth. Yes. Very much so. Okay. Where do you want to go now, Benjamin?
I don't know. Where do you want to go? Do you want to do
I don't know. We can go.
I feel like people must be sick of my voice at this point.
No, I don't think that's possible. I doubt very highly that that's possible. But yes, I can do one.
I am.
Let's do Tate's Hell, which is also in Florida.
Surprise!
According to legend, the forest and swamp were named after a man called Zeb Tate. Zebby was the son of Jebediah, who married a woman of Cherokee descent around the time of the Civil War. With the aid of a homestead grant, Jebediah purchased 160 acres of land near the town of Carabel, where he set up a small livestock farm to raise cattle. Over the next few years, the family prospered until Jebediah's wife contracted scarlet fever and died. Within a short time, Jebediah and Zeb found themselves struggling to scratch out a living, even though they had been successfully raising cattle and pigs, growing sugarcane, and harvesting pine oil on the side. Jebediah, being a highly superstitious man, believed this hardship was connected to the death of his Native American wife. So, in an effort to restore prosperity, he made a pact with the local medicine man. In exchange for prosperity, Jebediah agreed to give the shaman and his people one pig each year to stay out of their sacred cypress forest. Things improved for Jebediah and his son until 1874, when Jeb decided not to give the medicine man his promised pig. This angered the shaman so much, he promptly cursed the Tates, warning that they would see hardship like never before. Sure enough, within a short time, Jebediah died of malaria, leaving Zeb alone. Soon, the cattle began to disappear into the swamp, the sugarcane wilted, and the pine oil dried up. Zeb tried to maintain the household by raising pigs, but it was difficult. He eventually married a woman who had come from New York. However, ironically, she was Jewish and couldn't eat pork. When she complained of not having any beef, Zeb decided to take his hunting dogs into the sacred swamp to search for his rogue cows. His luck only got worse when his hunting dogs bolted after a panther and never returned. From there, he became lost and stumbled through the humid hell, confused, scared, and disoriented. Finally, the bewildered man sat down against the gnarled knee of an ancient dwarf cypress and fell into a troubled sleep. Hours later, he was awakened by a sharp sting on his leg. He had been bitten by a venomous snake, which merely hissed and slithered off into the muck. Delirious from lack of food and the surging venom, he got up and wandered through the swamp for another 7 days, encountering strange animals and reeling from frightening visions. While he finally found his way out of the forest, he came upon 2 men who were walking down a road. He fell at their feet and muttered the haunting hell line, "My name is Zeb Tate, and I just came through hell." Zeb died shortly thereafter, and the swamp had been called Tate's Hell ever since.
Dun dun dun. Is that a really old one?
Yeah, from because it was the Civil War.
Because that, it has so much in it that you can almost see, bits and pieces are taken and sort of used all over, so many others, aren't they?
Yeah, so 1870s.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that is old.
Yeah.
And I think that's the fascinating thing about urban legends for me is our culture is different. Obviously that's it. Our culture is different all around the world, but yet somehow we latch onto the same things, and the same things are what scare us, or the same things are what we find kind of fascinating or whatever. It doesn't really matter where you are.
Oh,
or what time it is, 100 years, 200 years ago, we were still scared by the same, ideas of like think generally, like I think with like urban legends, it seems to be like a big focus is just scared of the other, isn't it? Like the thing you don't know
the
or you
unknown.
can't see. Yeah, the unknown. They all seem to sort of hitch onto that sort of vibe, don't they?
Yeah, it reminded me.
I
I
wonder if it
did.
was Alpino.
Yes, I did say dwarf cypress, a Pukwudgie cypress. Um, yeah, and it's just funny because the whole theory of the shaman putting a curse on the family. I mean, how many times do you hear about a shaman or someone who practices witchcraft or something to their native culture? And it's just, I mean, you hear them out of Louisiana a lot, like New Orleans. Like there's a story.
New Orleans and stuff. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
like big into that, isn't it? Like,
yeah. There's a story about a woman who practiced and some way, shape, or form. She ended up cursing the town that it was going to flood in the whole 9 yards. And, sure enough, it like, but, when you think about it, it's Louisiana and New Orleans is so susceptible to the hurricanes and, and flooding. And I mean, that's just where they are geographically. So it's not the curse. It's just, Mother Nature.
yeah.
But because of superstition and the timing of everything, yeah, you know.
So New Orleans and stuff it has a lot of like voodoo and black magic and like that sort of like sort of imported West African kind of
Yeah,
vibe, right?
because what happened was when a lot of the slaves that were brought over, they were forbidden to practice their religion, their cultural religion that they came with, and they were forced to, go to mass or quote unquote become Catholic, and so what ended up happening was the religion that they brought over and Catholicism, they kind of merged it all together, which is kind of what mixed in and kind of made like voodoo. Voodoo is a totally different thing, but voodoo is kind of like a mix between the two. So, but yeah, New Orleans is very rich in tales. It's
I'd love
really,
it. I'd love to go there.
yeah.
It sounds like such a wicked place, like with that kind of a lot of like oral kind of
Yes.
folk tales and stuff like that.
Thank you. Marie Laveau. That's who I couldn't remember her name. Thank you.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Marie Laveau was the one, the priestess that was said to have cursed it. But yeah, it was really interesting. But yeah, a lot of stories out of New Orleans that are just, really interesting.
There's that podcast, isn't there, that deals with it, like that deals with like all like the oral folk tales of New Orleans. I don't know if it's still going. I can't remember its name. I shouldn't have even brought it up because I don't remember its name. But
I don't know of one specifically focused on New Orleans. I
I
know
might be
that
wrong.
I know that Troy Taylor does one that isn't just New Orleans. It's called American Hauntings, but he does different, areas in America, primarily in the South, but he does do one.
Yeah,
Yeah. So yeah, interesting.
yeah, it's cool. I do like all that kind of stuff. I didn't really know that much like until I start. I don't know. It's probably through Dark Histories, but I didn't know there was like such a rich kind of like vein of that kind of stuff. But I guess it makes sense because it's all like say like imported from West Africa, isn't it? Like with the
Yeah.
like the slave trade and that.
Yeah. And so, they weren't permitted to do anything, that basically resembled what, the fact that they actually had a culture
Yeah.
and were forced into what, whatever their slave masters had to
So
deemed
talking of
appropriate.
cryptids,
Yes.
should we go to Toronto? Because we haven't had a Canada one
Yes.
yet, right? So we've got Toronto, Canada. We've got the Toronto Tunnel Monster, which sounds about as deviant as can be. So,
Isn't it great?
cryptids in Canada are rare compared to the sheer volume found south of the border. Sure, you might get the occasional sighting of a Sasquatch, skunk ape type humanoid, maybe even the occasional pop-up by Alberta's Ogopogo, but not much else. So any such encounter in the Great White North is uncommon. Even more so, sightings of such phenomena in a densely populated metropolis are even more infrequent. Places such as Toronto, Canada, the stalking grounds of the Cabbage Town tunnel monster. August 1978. Ernest, no last name given, age 51, went looking for a lost kitten, one of a litter that he and his wife had been raising. Searching the neighbourhood, he stumbled across what he described as a cave. Crawling in, it wasn't long before Ernest, in his words, saw a living nightmare that I'll never forget. The cabbage... By the glow of his flashlight, Ernest saw something that defied conventional description. It was humanoid in shape, long and thin, almost like a monkey 3 foot long, large teeth weighing maybe 30 pounds with slate grey fur, with eyes that were orange and red slanted. And it only escalated from there when the creature spoke to him, not growled, not hissed, it spoke. I'll never forget it, it said. Go away, in a hissing voice. Then it took off down a long tunnel off to the side. I got out of there as fast as I could. I was shaking with fear. Suffice to say, Ernest wasn't all that eager to report what he saw. In fact, it was a local newspaper, the Toronto Sun, who came looking for him after hearing his story from one of their contacts who happened to work with one of Ernest's relatives. Eventually, he agreed to be interviewed by the paper, so long as his last name wasn't used. In getting more background on Ernest in this tale, the Sun also grilled Ernest's friends and family for the sake of validity. Each and every one of them, including his wife Barbara, not only stood up for Ernest's character's credibility, they also believed him. Barbara told the Sun, I believe Ernie saw exactly what he says he did. He was terrified when he came back to the apartment, and he doesn't scare easily. Look, he's been known to have a drink in the past, like most people, and to occasionally tie one on. But he's not a drunk, and he wasn't drinking at all that day. For the final piece of the story, Ernest took Sun staff to the location of the original sighting, located between his apartment building and its neighbour. The only possible trace of the creature's presence, the corpse of a cat decomposing and partially buried inside the tunnel. Speculation remains high that the tunnel in question led directly to Toronto's underground sewer system, and it acted as a point of access for this mysterious subterranean dweller. It would be easy to dismiss this story as another piece of colourful urban folklore. Nearly 40 years later, there's been no repeat sightings, no other people coming forward with their own encounters to report, but no one in the press, nor his friends and loved ones, doubted Ernest for a second. More importantly, perhaps, were the words of the 2 city employees who worked in sewer maintenance. They were also far from sceptical when they heard of the Cabbage Town tunnel monster. People who work on the surface just don't know what it's like down there, they said. It's a whole different world. Who would have thought a few years ago that people would live in sewers? And yet that's what they found in New York a few years back. Another was quoted as saying, I don't know what Ernest saw down there, but I'll tell you one thing. If we could get in there, I sure as hell wouldn't want to go down alone. So make of that what you will. That was sent in by Karen. And that's a cool story. And it really reminds me of like a Monster of the Week episode from the X-Files.
That's the tunnel monster.
Oh, right. I was going to say I didn't know what that was. Oh, my God.
That's the Cabbage Town tunnel monster.
I absolutely would not go down anywhere with the Cabbage Town tunnel monster with eyes like that.
It said, here, kitty, 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 kitty. Isn't that creepy?
Yes. But it really reminds me of that. That really reminds me of like the Monster of the Week X-Files episodes, right? It sounds like a description of Ben. Fuck off.
Oh, that's funny. Oh my gosh.
And we eventually got Cabbage Patch Dolls. They were great.
Oh yeah.
It definitely looks like Ben. More attractive eyes.
Oh please. That's so funny. Oh, that's crazy.
Where's my
But
thing
yeah.
gone? I've lost it. I've lost where we are.
Oh, what did you do?
It's all right. I just closed things that I shouldn't have closed.
You always do that.
Yeah, we're back again. It's all
That's
right.
good for you.
So we got loads left, haven't we?
I know.
Are we going to get through them all?
I don't know.
We might have to come back.
I know.
Because we still got loads. Should we do Courtney's one? Bloody Mary's murder?
Yeah.
Because we should definitely do that, right?
Yes. No, most definitely. And then, yeah, we should do that. And then go ahead. I'm looking at something.
So this one was submitted by Courtney, who drew the butterfly. Right?
Yes, she's
for
the
Dark
one.
Histories.
Yes, she's responsible for doing the new butterfly logo. The
So
really,
if you,
the really
old
badass
logo,
looking logo.
I just changed the episode artwork, the podcast artwork on iTunes, so it should work now. But the old butterfly was like regular, but the new one's like turned into ash, and so Courtney drew that. But yeah, so Courtney sent this in: Bloody Mary's murder, based on true events, real names, and some details omitted or changed. Growing up in a rural area in southern Ontario, Canada, scary stories and urban legends were few and far between. Approaching Halloween, we had the privilege of enjoying bright autumn colours broken by long stretches of frostbitten cornfields on Algonquin, Mississauga land. Algonquin, Mississauga land. I swear, you
really
people
good.
take the piss, just taking the piss out of me sometimes.
Hey, you know what? You're Canadian. This is an American, so don't go there.
An otherwise uneventful region had one carnival fair that attracted many folk from the surrounding communities to enjoy games, rides, and all manner of delicious, albeit questionable food. In the spirit of the season, what my school and church mates and I lacked in local ghost stories, we made up for in dares of walking into graveyards and abandoned barns after the sun went down. I had recently transferred schools, starting in 5th grade, an effort to avoid years of mild bullying and to follow my own school friend to our academic institution of choice. There I managed to become close to another girl in my class named Casey. She and I were both fond of storytelling and the macabre, so we naturally spent much time discussing and role-playing our ideas for future novels, never afraid to incorporate more mature material we had been exposed to. From my perspective, it was all in good fun, but regularly, Casey would take things a step further than I expected. Perhaps a week into October, after finishing an assignment together, Casey and I were chatting about an assembly that was soon to take place in our school's gym. She expressed her discomfort with the sound of the large, round, foldable tables being pulled out of storage and assembled in the echoing room down the hall. When I inquired further, her eyes went wide and watched carefully that we weren't being closely supervised. In a hushed tone, she then began to tell me about something that happened to her only 2 years before. While in 3rd grade at a different elementary school, Casey was close with another young boy named Lucas. They assisted the school faculty with setting up an assembly in the gym, and while Casey was putting up decorations on the stage platform at one end of the room, Lucas was helping bring out foldable tables with a teacher. Casey had her back turned away, where she heard something heavy crash to the floor, and one of the female teachers shriek in horror. Turning to see what the commotion was about, all she remembered seeing was the foldable table collapse awkwardly on the gym floor, a pool of blood growing across the cool tile. Casey had been rushed away from the scene almost immediately by the other staff, said she wasn't entirely sure what had happened in the moment. Later it was explained to the students that the teacher Lucas was moving the table, which had accidentally lost his handle on it. The result was all the weight falling on Lucas, and while no details were given, Casey couldn't help but think that his skull had cracked open in some manner for there to have been so much blood. A year later, the student body mostly moved on from the incident, but Casey couldn't shake what had happened to her friend. A heavy fall rainstorm knocked most of the school's power, so her class lined up in the hallway near to the others, awaiting their parents or guardians to pick them up early. Casey and her friends were bored, trying to entertain themselves with simple games as they waited. Finally, the others dared Casey to ask the teacher to visit the restroom and recite the Bloody Mary chant. It was a timeless folklore challenge, traditionally performed by invoking Queen Mary's name 13 times into a mirror in the hopes of being visited by a ghost of some kind. Casey, being vulnerable to peer pressure and thinking not much of it, asked to be excused from the class line and entered the nearest restroom. Whilst it was dark from the power outage, the flashlights the teachers had in the hall meant that Casey could still make out enough to avoid bumping into the stools and stumble towards the counter or sinks. In a broad mirror, she found her dimly lit reflection, suddenly feeling isolated from the muffled conversation outside. Reluctantly, she rushed and stuttered through the chant in an attempt to get it over with as soon as possible. Reaching the end, she paused, blinking into the mirror with a brief streak of morbid curiosity. The stool directly behind her was open, the lines of the reflection fuzzy in the dark. She told me she'd never forget what she saw. Lucas was standing there, staring at her wordlessly, blood dripping down his forehead and into his eyes. Casey was too shocked to scream, only finding the strength to spin on her heel and sprint back to the line in the hallway. Her friends made fun of her for being scared, but she didn't have the heart to tell them what was actually happened. After all, who would believe it? Initially surprised and fascinated by the story, I later surmised that it was all due to her overactive imagination. Recalling it as an adult, I found out from my parents that Lucas really had died in a tragic accident in the gym all those years ago. As for Casey's Bloody Mary chant, I figured that the trauma from the incident in combination with the power outage and the nature of the dare had tricked her mind. Still, while Casey was known for being a little theatrical and embellishing the truth, I'd never seen her so shaken as when she told me what happened to her that day. It's like a classic Bloody Mary story right there for you.
I know.
So have you ever done that?
Crazy? No.
Bloody Mary?
No.
You've never done it?
No.
So I have, but I didn't know you had to do it 13 times, so that's probably why it
I
didn't
thought it was
work.
3, so...
I thought it was 3 as well. But I did it once. I might have been a little bit stoned. So this may we're going back to when I was like a young nipper and I did things like that. And I'd done that thing where, you know, when you stare at yourself in the mirror for so long that your face kind of deforms and becomes not you.
Yeah.
So I did that, and then I did Bloody Mary, and I freaked myself right out, but I didn't see anything.
Yeah, it was 3 seconds.
But yeah. Do you ever do that? And you stare yourself in the mirror, and your face becomes like alien to you?
I think that had something to do with the pot you were smoking.
Yeah, but no, it's a psychological thing. So this is actually like a psychology thing. If you stare at yourself in the mirror long enough, I mean, the pot probably helped, for sure, but there's this thing, like, if you stare at yourself in the mirror long enough, you become like, you start to disassociate yourself with what you're seeing, and your face changes. I look at
myself that long.
Yeah, you have to stare at yourself, but your face changes, and you don't recognize it, and you get like disassociative kind of vibes from it. Really interesting. I used to do it all the time when I was stoned. I used to sit there going like,
you were right.
Now look at the state of me. Bit of pot never hurt me.
Oh, good God. I don't know, but let's see. Okay, here's my proposition. So it's 10 till.
Thank you, John Doe.
I know.
Recognize my offset collection.
He's very excited about
the
his
holy
guitar.
trifecta.
Oh, good God.
Sorry.
That's okay. So we do have quite a few stories left. I know that next Friday. Oh, did you see how you recognize facial patterns is easy to mess with? Huh. That's interesting. That's from artist Paul. Yeah.
Yeah. See, artist Paul's backing me up.
Artist Paul that we worship.
It's on my team.
Yes. I know that next Saturday is Halloween, but what if we do a follow-up on Friday, the 30th?
We could do that. I'm up for that because we've still got a lot of stories, and we definitely should use them because we asked for them.
Exactly, and that's what I'm saying. What if we do a follow-up on the 30th? I would like to do, because I know that somebody submitted a story, and they usually work right now, but they're on the stream watching. So I'd like to at least read one of the ones that they submitted before we sign off.
Go for it.
Okay. So let's read The Hatchet Lady of Red Rocks. And this is Mr. Book that sent this over. This is from Colorado. Red Rocks is a staple of Colorado. If you haven't seen a concert there, then it's likely you've walked along its trails or vice versa. The point is, it's a big deal for Coloradans. Red Rocks holds a special place in all of our hearts, but what if I told you it's home to some eerie and paranormal tales? Would you still want to see your favorite band play there when there's not something lurking in the shadows, watching your every move? Probably not. One of the more popular and well-known legends surrounding Red Rocks is that it's the Hatchet Lady. She wasn't always known as the Hatchet Lady, though. In fact, many stories say that this woman, old Mrs. Johnson, would pull a coat over her head and carry around a hatchet in order to ward off her daughter's suitors. Hot damn, now I know what to do. Apparently, she wasn't a fan of young love. She, of course, has tales that make her into a headless ghost that scares off couples who are getting a little too frisky in the shadows. Because, come on, headless ghosts are like a million times scarier than regular ghosts and would definitely put an end to any mischief. Other myths believe that this Hatchet Lady was a homeless woman who lived in the area, like in a nearby cave in the 1950s, and instead of going after young lovers, she'd go after children. Any young kids who ended up a little too close to her liking would be killed, and she'd hide their bodies and severed limbs around the grounds. So, a word of advice. Don't stray too far from the marked paths and stick together.
Or don't, because that's one of the classic kind of like the young lovers are going to get killed kind of stories. Like, you know, like definitely written in the 50s to stop their kids going out and canoodling or whatever. So Sojourner's Truth said, when you do a follow-up on the 30th, you guys should dress up in Halloween costumes. I am so up for that because we can't dress up this year. So let's do it. I'll get dressed up.
Oh, boy. I don't even know if I have it. Do I have anything to dress up in?
And there's Falls from Waukesha, Haunteeville territory.
I'll catch him costume.
Yeah, so Ben's saying he's down for it. Oh, God.
Yeah, I'll do it. I'll dress up. What should I dress up as?
I don't know.
Should we run a poll on social media?
Oh, God.
I'm going to need time to like source the.
We'll do a poll on Discord. We can do one on Discord.
Yeah, I'm going to need time to source the ingredients. And I'm already dressing up as an elf on a shelf for Christmas as well. I haven't forgotten that, Amanda. I know you're not here, but if you watch this. And trust me, I've been looking at like stuff ever since. I've been gathering things for my outfit, for my elf in the shelf outfit.
Ben's dress up as an albino dwarf. Oh, Lord. Oh, my gosh.
I'm practically see-through, so that'd be all right.
I wish we could find a Space Ape costume. That would be good.
I'm not sitting in a massive furry Space Ape costume.
No, me either. We'll have to look, but
I might do. I might do.
I
could definitely be talked into it, but
yeah, definitely. So what if we do so do you want to do the same? Hey guys in chat, I guess, do you want to do the same time? I know 5:00 Pacific, 8:00 Eastern. I don't know if that's too early for people on the West Coast on a Friday. So let me know. Let me know what you think.
Yeah, if we can organise it on Discord, right?
Yeah.
I've got these new trousers today. They're properly cut into my balls. Probably too much information for the whole world to know that, but Jesus. They're really nice fit.
Welcome to Dark Histories, family.
Yeah, we're all friends around here, aren't we?
Okay, so 5:00. Yeah, so we can do same time, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 Eastern. You're okay. Just I'll deal with you later as far as the time. Don't worry. So.
Yeah, it's the same as now, right? Oh, but our clock's just changed. No. They do it on purpose, man. Oh, I'm gonna have a meltdown. Things are different.
It'll be midnight your time.
Yeah, that's cool with me. Yeah, whatever.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. So yeah, so we will resume and make it through the rest of the stories that we got next Friday at 5 Pacific, 8 Eastern, midnight British time.
Dressed up like space apes.
Will the live stream stay up on the channel? What do you mean? Do you mean will you be able to watch them later, or
Like the archive?
we'll send out a link for the next live stream.
I normally archive the live streams and stick them into the Patreon, but I'll leave these up for like a week or so people can watch them because they've sent the stories in. So I'll probably leave these public.
We'll leave them the same then. We'll go ahead and leave them on because it is different. It's not a typical live stream that we usually do. So
yeah, I'll leave them public for people. I mean,
definitely.
it's like, I mean, people have basically given us the content. I'm not going to put it on
absolutely.
Patreon. So
that's what I'm saying.
No, I'll leave them public.
Sure.
I'll leave the streams open for you to see.
Yeah, cool. Great. And then I'll do it again. I'll post a link in the Discord, and we can go from there.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks very much.
All right.
That was words, wasn't it? Thanks for coming, everyone.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining in.
It was a great turnout. I'm really surprised. I'm pleasantly surprised, but. Yeah, I think, to be honest with you, I think this is the best turnout we've had for a live stream, so it's really exciting. I know, isn't it great? Yay!
Yeah, no, thanks everyone. Thanks very much for coming. It's been fun. So we'll see you all real soon
next Friday. We'll see you on Friday the 30th. Okay, guys.
I'm for an out. Cheers, everyone.
All right. Bye.
Bye.